Hi and welcome. My name is Brenda Bauer and I am a mom on a mission to take healthy back, to make healthy living simple and fun in something that makes our lives easier instead of something that stresses us out. We're so excited that you invested the time to watch our webinar on healthy hormones. And I just wanted to share a little bit of my story and then we will pop into the video by a holistic nurse practitioner who knows way more about how hormones work than I do. So my experience is that as I came of age, in fact, I remember with my very first cycle, I had doubled over menstrual cramps. I was physically ill. I could not stand to even sit to church. I had to go lay in the back seat of the car and wait for everybody else. This was back when kids could be in the car by themselves, right? But and it was 4 Advil every 4 hours for the first 24 to 36 hours of my cycle going forward. And then in my early 20s, a coworker cared enough to share with me that somebody figured out how to put fruits and vegetables in a capsule. Well, it just made sense to me. And to this day, honestly, I really don't have any idea how fruits and vegetables impact our cycles, except that I know that when we feed our bodies better, they do better. And my experience has been about 10 years into getting 30 fruits and vegetables every single day. I don't take anything for my cycle. And guys, that happened before motherhood. Like that wasn't something, like sometimes our cycles will change around pregnancy or whatever. That was not the case for me. This was something that happened before motherhood. And it just fascinates me, right? And I'm like, why? Why is my body better, right? Why is it not angry every time I have a cycle? And the other thing is, I remember as a kiddo, so now I'm 45, when my mom was my age, Mama, I love you, and she would tell you this, she was ugly to be around for the week before her cycle. We knew it was coming. We walked on eggshells around her. She would go from laughing to crying to yelling. You could say, "Hi, Mom, I love you," and she would bite your head off. And then she would be in tears, right? She was miserable. We weren't miserable, but it wasn't fun, right? When mom is not happy, ain't nobody happy. So here I am, 45 years old. I don't have PMS symptoms, you guys. Like I get a nightmare the week before my cycle. That's pretty much it. That's the extent of it. I don't have any hot flashes. I don't have any mood swings. My husband might disagree, but I think those are more related to self-care than hormones. And, I'm sort of looking forward to the end of my cycles because I think it's just going to go peacefully into the night, which wouldn't that be lovely, right? So that's a bit of my experience. Oh, and let me also say that now I have 2 daughters that are both cycling, and to see that one has no menstrual cramps at all, and maybe she never would have, but the other one had it for the first maybe 6 months, and now she's not asking to take anything either. And they've been flooding their bodies with whole food nutrition since before they were conceived. It just like makes me wonder, what are fruits and vegetables doing in the body to heal, repair, and protect and improve all of these systems that are getting interrupted by hormones in our environment and all the things that you're going to hear from our speaker. So that's a little bit about me. Super glad that you're here. The video is about 25 minutes. And then we'll come back together and sign off. So let me get the recording going. I'm going to share screen, share computer sound, get rid of me. Here we go. All right, push play, 37 minutes, okay.
Welcome to the Healthy Living Revolution Live. My name is Nicole Scott. The Healthy Living Revolution is a movement of people that are taking healthy back, and we are offering this series to bring simple solutions and education. Our speaker for this episode is a dear friend of mine, Jen Pike. Jen Pike is a holistic nutritionist and lifestyle expert and best-selling author of The Simplicity Project. She is a nutritionally sought-after nutritionist, yoga educator, and medical exercise specialist who focuses on women's health and hormones. Her international online programs usually have a wait list that include the Hormone Project and the Simplicity Project. She also offers a Simplicity podcast for her viewers to educate and inspire on trending topics. Jen is about to release a revolutionary new movement program, Synced, based on a women's cycle and lunar rhythm. As an inspired mama too, she understands that true well-being is a journey to be enjoyed, not a struggle to be forced. Jen inspires you to create more simplicity and ease in all that you do.
All right. Well, first off, I want to say thank you to Nicole for the fantastic intro. So my name is Jen Pike, and I am extremely passionate about women's health and hormones and educating multiple generations and ages and stages. So I work with women as young girls, all the way up until, honestly, as old as they are, that they want to learn about their bodies. So I'm working with young girls in a prepubescent to puberty stage, into their teens, their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond. Because the incredible thing about being a woman is that our body is a gift. I honestly believe that we have these magical feminine superpowers in terms of our menstrual cycle and these internal phases and rhythms that are happening all the time. And one of my big goals in life is to educate women beyond what textbooks have taught us, beyond what we might even be learning simply in our doctor's office, and to start to change the quality of the questions that we are asking about our health, to develop a deeper relationship with the awareness that we have when something starts to feel off, when we feel symptoms, when we have a sign, an inkling, that deep intuitive part of our body that says, I don't feel right. Something is definitely not fine, even though oftentimes the women who are coming into my practice have been to multiple practitioners, have had, quote unquote, all of the blood work done, and they're fine. Everything is normal. Meanwhile, they do not feel fine. Things do not feel normal for them in their body or in their life. And so my big goal is to get you to become more curious, to be brave enough to ask different types of questions, and then to change the quality of the conversations that you're having with your practitioners in your life, but that you're having with your family, with your friends, with other women. If we don't start to change the way we're talking about the things that are happening in our bodies, if we don't begin to become more curious about these signs and symptoms, we get stuck and we start to say things like, well, this is just normal. Everybody suffers from, thyroid issues. Everyone suffers from weight gain around menopause. No one is sleeping. Everybody suffers from anxiety or some depression. Everyone has PMS. Everyone has horrible periods. Everyone's complaining about that. And the reality is that's not actually normal. They're very common things, but they're not normal. And so part of what my goal is in talking to you all tonight is to teach you about how our adrenals and our thyroid really relate to our body as a woman, and how we can understand a bit more about these two areas to optimize how we are feeling day to day, how we are feeling cycle to cycle, how we're feeling through perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopausally. Because for so many women, they are taught that when you enter menopause and beyond, that once your cycle is gone, you just don't have any rhythms anymore. This is just life now. You're going to forget everything. You're going to be sweating all the time. You're not going to sleep. Your waistline's going to expand. And, that's just your rite of passage as a woman. And it's it's just completely untrue. I was going to say BS. I don't know if I'm allowed to semi-quasi swear on here. So we're going to pull that one back in. But it's not true. And this is the struggle that so many women have, is we've been led to believe this story, or a part of a story that's not actually true. And then we are allowing it to really stifle us, to literally put this fog over top of our system. So when something does come up and we're not feeling okay, and we just say, well, that's just normal. I'm just going to go through this. This is just, like I said, that rite of passage. And so tonight, I'm going to talk to you about your adrenals, your thyroid, and how they relate to perimenopause, menopause, and beyond. And my goal is that by the end of this, you are more curious, you are asking more questions, and that you are changing the conversations that you are having with other women. And one of the first places to begin changing the conversations is actually with your mother, with your sister, with your daughters, and to start to, even your grandmother, any of the women that are part of your, genetic lineage that are around you, that you grew up with, that you came from, that you are connected to, about, well, how does your body feel at certain times of the month? And what was your experience? It's like you are creating this database and you are doing your research and development. This is, for all of you who are coming into an event like this, you are that person who is curious. You've you've done the research and development. It's how you came into working with this community of women and whoever it may be that has connected you here tonight. So I don't want you to lose sight of that. Now, I might talk about things that are a reminder for you that you already know, and this is just kind of a nudge back in that direction. I might talk about things that really challenge what your current belief systems are, and that's okay too. Again, we're all just coming into this with an open mind and with that sense of curiosity. So it's critical to know and understand and to work on before we hit the panic mode when it comes to our adrenals and our thyroid and our hormones. And before jumping on something like hormone replacement therapy or anything medication-wise when we're talking about hormonal shifts, is really the what and the why behind what is actually happening and going on in your body. So I think it's important to understand first and foremost that although our emphasis tonight is on the adrenals and the thyroid, your digestive system and your gut is truly that area that you want to be focusing on honoring first. Are you breaking down the food that you're consuming? Are you assimilating and absorbing the nutrients from the food that you're getting in? Are you pooping regularly? Because ladies, that's massive in terms of properly detoxifying estrogens from your body and toxicity as a whole. So those are things that I would say to you to start with first. Do I have digestive issues like gas, bloating, constipation, reflux, sourness, pain, any of those types of issues? Is that maybe where I need to put my energy first for a little bit to try to calm some of those inflammatory triggers down, and then start to maybe kind of edge my way into some of the things that Jen is talking about tonight. So what do your adrenals actually do for your body? Well, they're pretty important, and I write about this in my book, The Simplicity Project, and I describe them the same way every time, and that your adrenal glands, so you have two of them, they sit on top of your kidneys. They're actually around between your 10th and 12th thoracic vertebrae. So if you were to think like where the bottom of your bra strap is, you kind of take your hands like this around and your thumbs are there. It's oftentimes where we have a lot of decreased mobility from sitting hunched over, driving in chairs, carrying children on our hips like they're a shelf, heavy bags, all of those things. This is an area of a lot of tension for women. And these adrenal glands, they're super powerful glands because they are part of our body's perception and response to stress. So they're like your SWAT team. When things start to get hot and heavy and the body is at a place where it can no longer kind of really handle what's going on and that perception of stress starts to increase, your adrenal glands jump into action and they're going to produce certain hormones. That the most common one people talk about is cortisol. And cortisol gets vilified. It's actually a fantastic hormone when it is in check and balance. It is a hormone that actually helps our body control inflammation. But when cortisol is too high, when you are under a constant amount of stress, when there is something that happens that you weren't anticipating, you feel like the rug was pulled out from underneath you, your body is probably going to produce an elevated amount of cortisol. And in that case, you become catabolic. And that means that your tissues are starting to be broken down by these levels of cortisol. It'll also start to diminish certain hormones as well too. So the more chronic underlying stress that's happening in your body, the higher this cortisol level is, the more wear and tear that is happening on your system. This is often how women will say, I feel like I'm doing everything right. I'm eating healthfully. I'm exercising, all of these things, but maybe not recognizing that because they're not getting sleep or they're waking up between 1 and 4 every morning, that is really what's causing the issue. There could be an environmental trigger around them. Could be fragrances, something synthetic. It could be in their work environment, in their building. There's lots of different triggers that could be, part of that. It could be mental emotional stress as well too. It could be the thing that we think we've dealt with that we've really just kind of shoved down that is trying to work its way to the surface. It might even be stress that we have from witnessing somebody else's mental emotional stress that's going on, just being that support system for them. So it's important to understand this, that when we're saying, the adrenals are having this overreactive response, it's that it's not always coming in the way that we think it is. Meaning that it doesn't mean that, you go at full velocity in your life all the time and everything is crazy and hectic. And sometimes some people's lives are like that, and that makes a little bit more sense. But for the individual who feels like they're checking off all those boxes of, yes, I'm doing life correctly, why am I still not feeling well? This can start to help to paint a picture as to what's going on. Now, with the adrenals, this is something that a lot of people maybe haven't heard before, don't understand, but if you've ever been told that you have an issue with your thyroid, underactive, overactive, or an autoimmune condition like Hashimoto's thyroiditis or Graves' disease, the issues really have started within your gut and your adrenals long before the thyroid actually becomes that source of showing up on testing. And the tricky part is that we don't actually there's not much blood work out there to be testing adrenals. You might have a doctor who does like a one-off cortisol test on you at that one point in the day when you're in the doctor's office. But in order to properly measure the adrenal function, it has to be done 4 times a day. And typically that's either done through a saliva test where you spit into a tube, you collect about 4 milliliters of saliva between 6 and 8 a.m. You do it again around 12 to 1 p.m., again sometime between 4 and 5 p.m., and then sometime around 10 p.m. in the evening. And the reason that this is so vital when we are trying to track the chemistry of what's happening in our response in our adrenal system is that this is going to look at what is your cortisol upon waking. So that first test of the day, if it's saliva, or the preferred test that I use is actually a dry urinary test in my practice, is going to tell me what was happening with your stress response in your sleep. So if you're the woman who says to me, I fall asleep like no problem, but then I'm up, I'm restless, I got to go pee, I lie back down, I can't fall asleep, and I see that your cortisol was either sky high while you were sleeping or it was rock bottom, that's going to help to give me some indication as to what was going on in those sleeping or non-sleeping hours. Then there's your cortisol awakening response. A healthy adrenal system, an endocrine system, should allow that cortisol to double within your first 30 to 60 minutes of waking. How do we do those things? Full spectrum light. So open up the blinds, get off your devices in the blue light in the morning. Hydrate your system. Get your body up and start to send the message that you are up and going. Don't snooze in the morning. Maybe do a couple of stretches. It could be like simple things like that for yourself. And then we're looking into the afternoon. So we see this, the rise in the morning, then we want to see a slow decline coming into afternoon. When you have a fast drop off in the afternoon, this is when your energy plummets. And when you are just like, I need to have a nap, I need to have something sweet, your cravings start to increase. And if you, don't satisfy yourself, if your blood sugar is unstable, this is where things can kind of get out of control. And so what's important to understand is we're supposed to have that natural decline, but at a point where you're stabilizing your blood sugar all day, you might feel it a little bit, but then it evens itself out coming into the evening and start to get lower and lower as you get closer to when your bedtime should be. And all of these are physiological signals to your body that's saying, hey there, hey Anne's body, hey Margaret's body, hey Sue's body, I want you to know that it's time to start to wind down for bed, because cortisol is like our sun hormone. Sun goes up, cortisol goes up, but melatonin is our moon hormone. So when the sun goes down and the moon is what we see, that is when we want melatonin to be rich. And that melatonin, ladies, that helps to keep your cortisol in check, but it helps you to sleep. It helps you to heal. It is a very anti-inflammatory hormone, and we produce it in the gut, but in that pineal gland. So when you are seeing lights from your street lights outside, when you are on devices in your bed at night, when you're on the computer too late into the evening doing work, if you're at a hockey arena with your child at 11 o'clock at night still because they're older and still playing, whatever it may be, all of that artificial light is sending the message to your body like, I'm still on, still got to keep going. And your cortisol production, not only does it stay up, but your body is like, well, man alive, we were not designed to be producing cortisol for like 18 hours a day, but okay, this is the signal that's coming in from the boss, so I will pump more out. And there's a term called adrenal fatigue. The adrenals themselves don't actually, unless it's like there are some issues like Cushing's and Addison disease where different things like that can happen. But the reality is when we hit that plummeted fatigue line, this is a signaling mechanism that's been happening behind the scenes for a very long time, where eventually your body is just like, I am so sick and tired of you sending me a signal that the sky is falling and that we got to move faster and we got to hustle and we got to go harder. I'm just not responding to you anymore. And so these are kinds of things that start to happen. So how do we negate some of those things? We get off the devices at night. We wear blue blockers. We create a routine for ourselves in the evening like we would for our children. You don't, for your child, turn on every light in the house, have the music up, blaring, overstimulate them, feed them sugar and junky food, give them a glass of red wine, and then throw them into their bed and say, now go to sleep, right? Like, we don't do that for a reason. We know they'll be wired and that will come back to bite us in the butt. And that is the exact same pace that so many people are living. As soon as the kids go to bed, that's my time now. It's when I'm going to run around the house and get everything done. It's when I'm going to go to the grocery store, when I'm going to watch Netflix, when I'm going to catch up on my show, when I'm going to get onto the computer. And we think we're actually, that's creating a level of self-care, that we're taking time for ourselves, but we're really tearing things down behind the scenes. And when this is happening with the adrenals, your thyroid is going to start to become impacted because they are in a relationship. There's something called your HPA axis. This is your hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. So it starts in the brain. The brain is where that perception piece happens. The adrenals get sent the signal like, okay, I need to respond now to this perceived stress, which it doesn't know whether it's real stress, it's you just anticipating stress, or if it's you, like when you watch a show or a movie and you get scared, your body has no idea that this is entertainment. Your body is like, oh my gosh, we're the one that is actually being chased, or we're the one that is in this situation. And so that's why you sweat and your pupils dilate and all of these things happen. So if you start to think to yourself, well, oh my gosh, what's the day that I live? What are the cues that I'm giving my body? There's actually nothing wrong with your body. Your body is simply responding to what it is that you're providing it the information, right? So this is where it's like, interesting. What type of information am I giving my system? And that's really empowering, I think, when you understand that there's a lot more that you can do that's going to cost you nothing to help to benefit your adrenals and support the thyroid by simply just being aware of that lifestyle piece. So once those adrenals get the message, there's a connection here to your thyroid and to your ovaries. And so if that stress piece is chronic and you're not supported and that blood sugar is unstable, you're not hydrated, you're not getting rest, you don't move your body often enough, you're not getting enough phytonutrients in, like that food piece is so key. And I'm going to go deeper into this. These again are all signals that your body is going to have some deficiencies, and you're going to feel that and see that in those signs and symptoms. So what are those signs and symptoms? Low energy, brain fog. Your cognition is just not there. Like you kind of gap in and out of conversations. Your motivation is gone. Your hair is thinning. Your sex drive is low. Your menstrual cycle is irregular or very light or raging. Like it is painful. There is clotting, breast tenderness, PMS. You might feel that there is something going on with the thyroid in terms of a goiter or some cyst. If I didn't mention already, your sleep pattern is going to be off dramatically, and you're probably going to have cravings. Typically, when the adrenals are the issue, you're looking for things that are like salty and savory. When it's an adrenal thyroid issue and blood sugar is a big part of this, you just want sugar and bread and all the carbohydrates. And so these are some key things to pay attention to your body. So it's when we're looking at this, it's not about supporting one or the other. It's how do we support them together, right? So this is where I think having the conversations with the people closest to you, the other women in your life, about what their history is and how their body has, historically felt in times of stress. When I'm working with women one-on-one, I do a timeline history. And so I actually go as far back to ask them, ask your mother if you have contact with her still, if this is still a possibility, what her pregnancy was like with you inside of her body. And then from their childhood, we go all the way up, because who we are now, the woman that we're sitting here now, is a result of the whole life and everything that has come along with us that has led up to this point. And what's really fascinating is that we, sitting here right now, were an egg inside of our mother's ovary when she was growing inside of her mother's body, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of history and a lot of information that is tied up into that. And your genetics do not shape your destiny, but they give us a little bit more info to then understand how to control that epigenetic side, which is how you live your lifestyle, to either keep disease and ailments in certain cells dormant and turned off, or to activate them and get them on and kind of moving in a not so great direction. So supporting these is critical. And in the lifestyle piece, it's the food that we eat. So, for me, I know we're all here tonight in a Juice Plus environment. This is not actually a supplement to me. This is a food. Omegas are also a food to me. Obviously, what's growing off of our tower garden is food. And the reason that it's so important, I've been using this product for 13 years now. And I started when I was pregnant with my first child, because for me, there was nothing on the market, maternity or prenatal vitamin-wise, that I felt good about putting into my body. So I did Juice Plus, and then I added the additional things that I was going to need into my system. But what I love about the fact that this is non-genetically modified, phytonutrient-rich food is that I'm really just working with my body on a synergistic level. And being a, functional practitioner and a nutritionist, there are still so many days that go by where I'm like, oh my gosh, I just didn't have time to get what I needed in at the end of a fork or spoon, and sometimes even through a smoothie. So it is really like that backup team I feel like I have when I've got those capsules. And it makes it really easy to talk to other women about, because they're busy too. They're, trying to get it into their body, their children's bodies. And so the food that we are consuming is critical. So Juice Plus is part of it, but also looking at, is your food organic, non-genetically modified? Is it full of natural, rich color? Lots of produce. Ladies, vegetables and fiber are critical in terms of detoxifying your estrogens and your system as a whole. Your liver and your bowels are working in unison to support you. And if they don't have the key nutrients and they don't have the resources to package up and bind to any of that toxicity, to ship it on out, things will recirculate into your body and can wreak havoc and contribute to some of those more excess estrogen symptoms of the PMS, breast tenderness, heavy menstrual cycles, and those types of things are going to add more stress to your adrenals and to your thyroid. The other thing when you're talking about your food is, are you getting enough healthy fat? Are you getting enough good quality protein into your body? Making sure that you are choosing, grass-fed choices. If you're not doing meat, then maybe you're doing wild fish, or you're looking at getting really good quality plant-based sources of your protein in. And then the healthy fats, again, plant-based. If you're doing animal product, just making sure that they're organic and very good quality sources. Think about reducing your eating window to be less taxing on your system and more supportive of blood sugar. So instead of eating every couple of hours, think about creating a digestive rest. So a lot of people might refer to this as intermittent fasting. I like to change the wording because I think languaging is powerful. And when we talk about fasting, most people I know who are doing fasting are taking a dieter's mentality, combining it with fasting, not getting enough calories in, which will seriously stress out your adrenals and your thyroid. And I've seen a huge increase in my practice in hypothalamic amenorrhea, where a woman's period disappears. And then she's diagnosed with premature ovarian failure. And once we go back, we do testing, we look and see what's going on with her lifestyle. It's like, oh my gosh, you were like barely getting enough for your system. And here's the thing is, if your body's under chronic stress, whether it's lack of nutrients, whether it's lack of minerals, whether it's, lack of healthy sleep, whatever it may be, your body, ladies, will say, what is not important for survival? Hair growth, not important. You can wear a sweater and put a hat on. Your hair is going to thin. We're going to, make it a bit sparser. That's not essential for you to survive. Menstrual cycle, well, if this body's not safe enough for this woman to function at an optimal level day to day, it's definitely not safe enough for her to be able to procreate life. So we are going to diminish her hormone levels. We're also probably not going to ovulate this month, so she doesn't produce progesterone. And we are potentially going to just have an absence of a cycle completely, so that she cannot actually procreate. So these are just like, hypotheses that I'm pulling out of thin air. These are real matter-of-fact things, so it's important to pay attention. So reducing that eating window to maybe 12 to 14 hours of rest. So like if you ate dinner at 6 at night, you wouldn't eat again until 6 in the morning. This is one of the reasons why I love the Shred 10 approach. It helps to build in the rest for the digestive system, because it's in the rest and digest where we actually heal. It's where the cells get regenerated and buffered. It's on that cellular level where we see so much of the good food that we've eaten, the good quality whole food supplementation get to do its actual work. And so I do this for myself, about a 12 to 14 hour window at the most. And then I have a healthy, fantastic breakfast, a great lunch, a really good snack between 3 and 4, like when the kids get home. And I know that that's when there's going to be that little cortisol kind of drop. I get in front of it with a good quality snack that would combine protein, fat, and fiber. And then I have a healthy dinner. So, that's what works for my system. And I would say try it on for size for yourself and figure out what feels really good for you. The key is that you shouldn't have cravings. You feel satiated from your meals. You don't feel heavy, full, and bloated. You feel good. The third thing is hydrating. So you've got to hydrate and alkalize your body. How much water are you getting in a day? Are you drinking out of glass and stainless steel as opposed to plastic to reduce your hormone disrupting xenoestrogens. I love to get people to have a minimum of about 2 to 3 liters of water every day. And you can add in fresh fruit, frozen berries, lemon juice, basil, different herbs, those types of things. But hydrating your system is also going to be really critical for supporting your endocrine system as a whole. And ladies, as we get into, perimenopause, menopause, and beyond, and we start to feel like we have more of those cravings and we just kind of never feel satisfied, one of the things that happens as we get into that stage is our leptin and ghrelin hormones, they start to get thrown off kilter. And that's what's controlling and saying to you whether you're satisfied or you're hungry. And a big part of that is our body can get confused when we are thirsty and when we're dehydrated, and you can feel like it's asking for more food when really you just need to fill your water tank inside of your body. So really think about that. Now, whole food supplementation, it is important to be supporting those adrenals and thyroid as well. And so I have foundational supplements for humans in general, which is our Juice Plus, it's our omegas, but it's also good quality vitamin D. Magnesium is really important. I love a citrate for ladies who are dealing with constipation and slower bowels. A couple teaspoons at night before bed. And you'd know if you took too much, if things get a bit too loose, then you just back it on off. And then if you don't have any issues and you've got great regular bowel movements, then a bisglycinate is really good. Now, I can't necessarily talk, and I know I said 2 teaspoons earlier, in terms of recommended amounts because I don't know you personally. I haven't done a consult, so I'm just giving you some general information. A great quality vitamin D is also good, and I find for most women that they are very deficient in their B vitamins, and specifically B12 and B6 and B1 and B2 tend to be low in women. So I like a really good quality full spectrum B complex where you have to take about 2 or 3 a day in order to get in the full amount. I'm not a fan of the 1 a days. Very hard to digest, and oftentimes we aren't able to actually extract and assimilate what's inside of those. Now, depending on what else is going on, probiotics are something that I used often too, unless you have something like SIBO, and then we might do some other things to help that gut connection. But adaptogens can be helpful for the adrenals and the thyroid. So I make great elixirs. If you follow me on Instagram at Jen Pike, I'm always showing different recipes. So things like maca and ashwagandha, rhodiola are really good. And then also anti-inflammatories. So the reason I love the 3 blend so much is that berry blend, and we have over 30 published clinical studies that show the efficacy of this whole food product. But that berry blend, I used to put people on coenzyme Q10 and curcumin, and sometimes I'll still use the curcumin, but I start them on the berry blend first for a couple of months. And honestly, 9 out of 10 times, the anti-inflammatory properties in that product help with their joint pain and inflammation, and it helps to lift the fog off of kind of the intensity of what's been happening in their body right now. Lets us see a little bit deeper into what's going on, and then I can get a little bit more specific with the protocol. And if I have someone that's really dealing with some really taxed adrenals, then I might do a more specific adaptogen tincture. I would talk to your practitioner about this. And same thing for the thyroid. If we're dealing with an underactive thyroid, that's going to be a different protocol than overactive. And if we have someone that's dealing with it, with the antibodies elevated and it's an autoimmune condition, then that's also going to be something specific. So this is where it's really important that the tests that you request are complete and full. And the average blood work, I'm here in Canada, I'm in Ontario, and so it's different province to province in Ontario, and it's different state to state in the US or wherever you're watching from. So the key things are to ask for your TSH, which is your thyroid stimulating hormone. Now, this doesn't tell us about your thyroid. It tells us about the pituitary, a gland in your brain that is stimulating your thyroid. Then you need to know your free T4, your free T3, your reverse T3, and your 2 thyroid antibodies, which is TPO, thyroid peroxidase, and TGAB, antithyroglobulin. So you can go back and write those down to ask for. And maybe what I'll do is I'll link up here some of the suggested, I give all of my clients a suggested recommendation. I can't give you requisitions, but a recommendation of what you can ask for. Because again, our chemistry, our body is holding on to all this data. So in my practice, like I'm reviewing blood work, I'm reviewing urinary testing, saliva, hair testing, and it tells us, it starts to fill in all the gaps about what is going on and starts to match up. Well, no wonder my symptoms are like this and I feel like this over here because this is what's actually happening in my body. And it's really empowering for people when you can do that. And for me, I love it because I want to educate. I don't want to just tell you. I want you to really understand. And so when you can pull somebody's information up and walk them through what's going on in their own body, A, they finally feel like, okay, this isn't in my head. This is not all in my head. This is actually happening. And B, there's something I can do about this. Now, this leads into my next point about how to support these areas of your body. It's about the energy we take on and we participate in. So it's the mental, emotional stress. And this is huge. It's the thing that we can't necessarily palpate and touch and feel and like reach out. It's there, but it is impacting us in a very big way on a daily basis. So it could be coworkers, it could be the job that you don't enjoy, it could be relationship stress, financial stress, it could be the health of a loved one or yourself. So it's really important that you are acknowledging those things, and our body's got to figure out some which way or another to work through this. And that can manifest into physical symptoms. And so it's something that I really just encourage all of you to sit back and just create some time for yourself. You know, grab your journal, put pen to paper, and really be honest with yourself about like where you're at and how you're feeling now. And let your pen or your pencil do the talking, and take a momentary pause and just be like, I didn't know I actually felt like that. And allow yourself to give yourself permission. This leads into the next thing, which is about what is the calendar that you create for yourself in your life. So it's oftentimes one of the first places that I start with women is, you know, what is the pace? Is there any room in the day for you? And what are you saying yes to? Because you've yet to create those boundaries of being able to, you know, feel safe saying no to everything and everyone else, the things that aren't filling you up. So you have time and space to actually do the things that are taking care of your body. So you're not feeling so depleted, that your stress is not impacting your sleep and your weight and, you know, not allowing you to move, which is my next point. Movement and exercise. Two very different yet equally important pieces. So movement and exercise are not the same thing. There is structured exercise, which I love, and I have lots of different programs. There's lots of videos that you can access to through Healthy Living Revolution, and that about, you know, just getting your body going and in motion. And then there's movement, which is that, you know, like motion creates the lotion in our joints, but motion, movement, exercise stimulates your lymphatic system. This is how we are going to be eliminating properly. This is how we are going to be supporting our cardiovascular and circulatory system, tissue regeneration, adding more lean muscle tissue to our bodies. And ladies, the older we get, the more important the strength training is, and the less important long cardio is. So walking, love it. But I need you doing Pilates. I need you doing strength training. I need you doing load-bearing movements, yoga, things like that are actually going to have you down dogging, planking, squatting, push-ups, pull-downs, rows, like all different types of movement, because the more muscle tissue that we have in our body, it is going to help to support our hormones, specifically testosterone. It's going to support your libido. It's going to help you create a really healthy metabolic system. It'll help your body do a better job at managing your insulin, which insulin and your cortisol, your stress, they're in bed together. So we want to make sure that we're, you know, kind of keeping everybody in check and tucking them all in. And so it's really, really important. And then the other thing would be to think about syncing up to your cycle or to the lunar cycle. So we are not men. We do not have the same 24-hour rhythm in our body every single day. You have 4 very distinct phases of your menstrual cycle and of the lunar cycle. And I have an entire ebook, if you go to my website, jenpike.com, where you can download. I talk and teach a lot about this. But you have your follicular phase, which is the first phase of your cycle, your ovulatory phase, your luteal phase, and your menstrual phase. And each one of them creates a different energy, different cravings, a different physiological response in your body, requires a different type of movement and a different schedule. And so if we are just hustle and grind 24/7, 365, we aren't designed for that. There is a reason and a season for when these things happen for us to pull on back. You know, we need to have the times a month where we literally just like incubate ourselves. We hibernate, we withdraw so we can do the deep inside work. If you've never read The Red Tent, I highly recommend it. It'll teach you a lot about that as a woman and how to honor this in your body and to stop grinding and pushing against what that internal rhythm is trying to communicate with you. And our moon syncs up the same way. So if you're pregnant, you don't have a cycle, you can follow that lunar cycle as well. And then, okay, sleep. This is the big one. I've mentioned it. so many times. But again, this is one of the reasons that I really do like the Shred program so much, because it helps to achieve the majority of what I've just talked about. Real food, less to do on our calendar, because for 10 days, we're creating simplicity and ease around meals. You're having a couple of your shakes and a healthy meal with your family, right? So you're not planning a lot. You're not having to do an excessive amount of shopping. It becomes a little bit easier for that. We free up energy digestively and otherwise to do some cleanup and some clear out in our system. And on a physical level, because we're consuming so many of these whole foods and our capsules, and we're into this rhythm and routine, we help our physical body by up-leveling our pooping and detoxing ability. Our energy is up. There's also less work happening in our mind. And we can exercise in this program. And when we think about it from a 10-day perspective, I think 10 days is a reasonable amount of time for people to just be like, kind of give yourself a reset, a little bit of a kickstart. It also helps to give that digestive break. And we support ourselves as women with those phytoestrogens in the complete, which is especially wonderful during the first 10 days of your cycle, or from the new moon until 10 days after. So I find that's the best time to do a shred, is from day 1 of your menstrual cycle until 10 days after is fantastic. And I find that women have more compliance at that time too, because you're just like, I just need something easier. And then from that new moon until 10 days after, for those of you that no longer have a cycle. So, these are just some of the simple things that I would recommend for you to start to do to really be able to support that side of your body. I know it's very easy to get wrapped up in, and I teach much more in-depth workshops and master classes in this, but it can be very overwhelming in the beginning. And I wanted to be able to come on here and to give you a little bit of the why behind the what, some tips and some things that you could really anchor yourself into and to begin with. So begin with the digestive piece, asking yourself those questions. Do I have any digestive issues? Am I eliminating optimally? Are you eating really good quality food? Are you hydrating your body? What does your calendar look like? What is the energy around you and the people you're spending time with? What's that internal, mental, emotional picture feel like for you? How often are you moving your body and exercising? What is the quality of your sleep like? And could you create a bit of a reset for your system, depending on where you're at in that cycle or those phases, or simply when your body is craving it, so that you can shift your mindset away from like a diet approach, and really becomes your lifestyle. Ladies, our bodies are not interested in they don't care that we want to weigh a certain amount or wear a certain size. Our bodies care about, am I thriving, and am I in a place of feeling really vital and feeling really good? Because when you get your body on your side, that is when everything else starts to calm down. And this is why I'm so passionate about teaching in this capacity and showing up and doing things like this. So I really hope that helped to give a little bit of insight. I hope I have stoked your curiosity about these areas of your body. And I would love to hear any questions or your feedback, and to keep this conversation going, because, you are all ambassadors of healthy living just by showing up and partaking in this. And I think it's just something that we have to, choose to all do together. So really happy to have been here tonight. Thank you all so much for inviting me. And I hope to come back and create another conversation and change the quality of our questions that we are asking one another in another event. Have an amazing rest of your day, everyone.
We would like to encourage you to get back to the person who shared this webinar with you. And thank you again, Jen Pike, for this incredible health information around hormones.
Okay, that was awesome. I need to figure out how to turn that video off. Here we go. Okay, good. So I hope you got a lot out of it. I absolutely did. I actually took a whole page of notes, and I just want to invite you to, just as she did, right, to dig a little deeper, to get curious with yourself, to ask some questions. And if you're asking, what is this Whole Food Juice Plus fruits and vegetables in a capsule that she was talking about, we have some opportunities for you to do that. And I am going to bring those up. Let me go in and share screen one more time. There we go. I didn't mean to do that, but that's okay. So this coming Monday, we will be meeting on the Zoom at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And hold on, sorry guys, technical difficulties. I love it when that happens. Share, give me, there we go. Okay, here we go. So on Monday night, we'll be talking about one simple change. What is Juice Plus, how it works in the body. She mentioned the over 40 pieces of published research done on Juice Plus. You'll find out a little bit more about that and begin to answer some of those questions like I had of what the heck is it in fruits and vegetables that help my hormone systems to work better. And then the other thing that I wanted to let you know is this is the second in a series that will be going between now and the end of the year. We're calling it Food for Thought. And last week was how to prevent colds and flus using food. I love what she said about what we put on the end of our fork. Today was healthy hormones. Next week, living in a toxic world. So she made some references to hormone disruptors in our plastics and some of those kinds of things. You'll find out more about that next week. And then the last November Zoom will be fueling performance in young athletes. Our kids are busier and fuller calendared than in any generation before. And is their nutrition supporting it? And what can we do as parents, right, to help support them so they can go be that 3-sport athlete or whatever it is that they love and enjoy doing. Just in time for the holidays, we'll be talking about natural solutions to depression and anxiety, and then asthma and allergies. How to make peace with your microbiome right before we go into all the food holidays, right? And then just in time for the new year, she mentioned several times our 10-day shred program. So that'll be a great time to come and learn more about that to jumpstart our new year. But please be sure to ask the person who invited you for more information if you can't come to any of those events, because we want you to have the information. It's not about what time it is. Okay, you guys, thanks for being here, and we'll see you next week.